And I'm Charles Aite. Welcome to the program. This hour, President Akufo-Addo is urging African leaders to guard against what he describes as the continuing consequential power of rating agencies on the African continent. He says that these ratings agencies have affected the cost of borrowing and access to the international capital market. President Akufo-Addo was speaking at the African Union meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
A number of recommendations have been made in the full report, whose endorsement by the Assembly would be critical towards the establishment of the AUFIs. They've been captured in the draft Assembly decision that will be submitted to Your Excellencies for consideration and adoption. Before I conclude, Chairperson, I believe the Assembly must also focus its attention on the subject matter of SDR reallocation within the context of optimizing its impact on Africa. Last May in Paris, world leaders made a commitment to allocate the historic SDR 650 billion issuance to IMF member states, with Africa's quota allocation of 5% or SDR 33.3 billion. We value this commitment to additional resources, of which our continent is in dire need. It is unfortunate, however, that the only proposal that has been put on the table by the European countries so far is to rechannel these SDRs through only one institution, the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The IMF should not be the sole beneficiary of such rechanneling. We believe that our own constitutional institutions, such as the African Development Bank and Afro-Exim Bank, should be recipients of the recycling of these SDRs. Our finance ministers and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, have advocated for the use of regional development agencies to be included in this rechanneling. African finance ministers with UNECA have consistently championed the allocation of SDRs to capitalize AFD and Afro-Exim Bank, to help establish an African stability mechanism, and to initiate a liquidity support facilities. We need to guard against the continuing consequential stranglehold of the rating agencies, which has affected the cost and access to capital markets for African countries, and has, during this COVID period, resulted in the downgrading of many African countries, exacerbating even more their funding challenges. Furthermore, it is of the utmost importance that the G20 leaders stick to their commitment to reallocate to Africa SDR 100 billion agreed to at the Paris Summit in May 2021. These issues have also been captured in the draft Assembly decision, which Your Excellencies will be considering and hopefully adopt. Chairperson, we need to work collectively as the African Union to reform the global financial architecture, even as we build and strengthen our financial institutions.
Well, the president's pronouncement follows the junk status that ratings agency Moody's classified Ghana's economy, sounding warning of the country's inability to pay back loans. Well, the finance ministry has formally appealed against the downgrade of Ghana's credit ratings by Moody's. The ministry is questioning the approach used by the ratings agency and some inconsistencies in the assessment. George Riafi has the rest of the story.
The Finance Ministry in the statement noted that the appeal was influenced by some key material information that was missing out in Moody's assessment, such as the 2022 budget expenditure controls. The ministry was also worried about the appointment of a new credit analyst just 4 weeks to this major announcement, who didn't have enough time to assess measures taken by Ghana and hadn't visited the country as part of those basic requirements. Government also noted that it is pressing ahead with this appeal after an earlier one was rejected by Moody's despite some serious inconsistencies in its analysis and action on downgrade of Ghana's creditworthiness. On Standard & Poor's decision to maintain Ghana's ratings at B- with a stable outlook, The Ministry of Finance noted that Ghana could have had its rate upgraded as the agency cites delays in passing the e-levy as one of the reasons for not upgrading Ghana's credit ratings. For some, the decision to appeal the ratings by Ghana can be described as interesting because government actually pays these agencies to carry out these reviews, which comes at a huge cost to the country. This is because any country that borrows from the international market is required to have at least 2 credit rating agencies. However, in Ghana's situation, it has 3 credit rating agencies.
Well, we shall try, raise economists to help us appreciate the impact this could have on Ghana's economy. Dr. William Sapra from the Radioactive University, the senior finance lecturer, will be joining us shortly, as well as Joe Jackson with Daylex Finance to help us understand the status of, the impact of this Moody's ratings, especially when we're having so much issues regarding our Eurobonds on the international market. We have Dr. William Sapra, and of course, he's with the Radioactive University. We're grateful, Doc, that you could join us. Of course, President Akufo-Addo has raised stark concerns. We start, first of all, with Moody's downgrade. How much of an impact can this have on the Ghanaian economy?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. This is the Moody's rating has come at a very dire time, and the result is very, very not palatable to Ghanaians and also to government, as you have seen the reaction. What has happened is that what Moody's is saying is that even Fitch grading of B- is far better. The CAA1 rating means that our bonds are highly risky and there's a propensity of default, which is a substantial amount of default. In simply put, our bonds are junks, and it means that investors, when they patronize it, they may come to a point that Ghana will not be able to pay the bonds and even the coupon rate or interest to accrue to investors. So that is the issue. If you look at the report that Moody's issued, it simply means that they look at all the happenings in the country, apart from the information that the Ministry of Finance share with them and what they also pick from their own sources. It's based on it that they come out with their ratings or the report. So if government is not giving accurate information to these agencies and on time, the agencies themselves will fetch their own information, and based on that will come out with the outcome.
Let's hold on that particular thoughts that you've raised about if government does not provide accurate information, because the Finance Ministry has responded in this light, raising concerns that despite the series of progressive engagement it had had with the team from Moody's, as well as the medium-term economic and fiscal focus of government, Doctor, underpinned by some key fiscal consolidation reforms, such as the policy decision to cut expenditure by 20%. All these government is saying owes up to some inconsistencies in Moody's, ratings. How do you respond to this?
Okay, so you let me state that, and these agencies they work within a certain frame or law. And there's a Credit Ratings Agency Reform Act 2006. In the act, it gives them the right to also infer after having conversations with government and ministries. So government may present a futuristic plan, as we have seen, that we are going to cut expenditure by 20%, but they will ask themselves, if they are analysts, what is the track record? Is it something that we can say that government will do, that is truly they are going to cut expenditure by 20%? So if you look at the report, all the 3 agencies on Ghana government assessment, none of them talked about reduction in expenditure. All of them focus on revenue generation, because they know that as a country and our pattern, we may say we will reduce our expenditure, but I mean, where we have come from, we know that this is not very realistic. So if the analysts are predicting, they will be focusing on which angle is permissible and can be done. So that angle is on the revenue generation, and the path is very clear. Government is making a lot of effort and noise also on the e-levy. We've heard of the changes that they are expected to bring maybe very soon. So these are the signs. So if government makes the argument, it doesn't mean that Moody's must just pick what government is saying and go by it. So it's in the hands of government to show by works and not by rhetoric or by just saying that we are going to reduce our expenditure by 20%.
So what now for government? What now for investors, having had the Moody's report out and even other ratings agencies, showing negative outlooks?
So the history speaks. These agencies have been in existence since 1900, and they have been working and reviewing countries and corporations and individual bonds. So government must make sure that they listen to what these agencies are saying, and it gives government to focus on what strategies can we put in place to be able to address the challenges that they have mentioned. And it's when you read the report, it's very clear. They talked about inflexibility in our revenue patterns. So government must make sure that we increase our revenues. And I've been championing this, that our revenue generation, we must strengthen it. Now they are saying the e-levy is a lazy approach. So can we focus on the hard approach, whereby government sending personnel to like the GRA, going to other regions and making sure that each of the region contribute its quota to Ghana. So this is very key, and that is what we expect government to do. They shouldn't fight these agencies. When you start to fight them, probably their perception about the government may even change, and it is going to affect the next report they will issue.
All right, Dr. Williams, we're probably grateful that you could join us, Head of Finance. We'll still stay on this matter as Senior Financial Analyst Joe Jackson joins us on this matter. We're grateful, sir, that you could join us. Help us understand what impact will this have on the investor community?
I would say hello to all your viewers and listeners. The important thing is that we were expecting this. So it really doesn't change much at the moment. The real, as soon as somebody rates you and says you are B- with a negative outlook, it means that you are likely to get downgraded. Because remember that the alphabet is your grade. And then negative stable means what they expect to happen over the next few months. So when they say you are B- with stable, it means you are B- and you're likely to stay B-. If you're B- with negative, it means you are B- and we are likely to downgrade you. So in terms of the real impact, I think that has happened already. The issue really is this: we should stop shooting the messenger and listen to the message. And the message is loud and clear. The international committee, the international public, those who buy, investor community, and the independent communities are not happy with how we are, the state of our public purse at the moment. They see a lot of borrowing. They see essentially we don't have enough revenue and we are spending too much. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. Lambasting the messenger doesn't solve the problem. Fixing your problems is what is important. And unfortunately, African countries don't have a good history of fixing their problems. And that's why there's even all this discussion about going to the IMF and the conditionalities involved. If we are sure that our economy is strong, let's fix it. This is not the time for partisan blame game, the blame game, who is mismanaging the economy. The truth of the matter is that our economy is in bad shape. We are broke. And the rating agencies have recognized that. Let's fix it.
Indeed, but of course, I do reckon that your submission in some parts, response to what the president said at the AU, extraordinary meeting, where he's, calling on, member states to deal with the situation of ratings agencies and their impact on the African continent. I just wanted to play back what the president said on, the AU leaders to get your feedback once again when it comes to the impact of most of these ratings on the African economy when it comes to their attractiveness to the investor community. Take a listen once again.
A number of recommendations have been made in the full report, whose endorsement by the Assembly would be critical towards the establishment of the AUFIs. They've been captured in the draft Assembly decision that will be submitted to Your Excellencies for consideration and adoption. Before I conclude, Chairperson, I believe the Assembly must also focus its attention on the subject matter of SGR reallocation within the context of optimizing its impact on Africa. Last May in Paris, world leaders made a commitment to allocate the historic SGR 650 billion issuance to IMF member states, with Africa's quota allocation of 5% or SGR 33.3 billion. We value this commitment to additional resources, of which our continent is in dire need. It is unfortunate, however, that the only proposal that has been put on the table by the European countries so far. We need to guard against the continuing consequential stranglehold of the rating agencies, which has affected the cost and access to capital markets for African countries, and has, during this COVID period, resulted in the downgrading of many African countries, exacerbating even more their funding challenges. Furthermore, it is of the utmost importance that the G20 leaders stick to their commitment to reallocate to Africa SDR 100 billion agreed to at the Paris summit in May 2021. These issues have also been captured in the draft Assembly decision, which Your Excellencies will be considering and hopefully adopt.
Mr. Jackson, so that was the president there, specifically, speaking against the ratings. Your response, I could see the smile on your face.
See, for a rating agency to be effective and for people to take it and use the ratings, they must of necessity be independent. And you must believe that the rating agency is independent. There is a small problem here, or a big problem, depending on how you look at it, which is that if we set up our own agencies, rating agencies, and these agencies give us favorable ratings, will those ratings be believed by the same people we are courting? That is the problem. And for so long as we are courting independent investors from a certain community, then we have to use a rating agency that they trust, not the rating agency that is favorable to us. So there is an inherent contradiction between saying that I want an agency to be favorable to me in its rating, and to say that I want people to use that agency's ratings.
Okay, and we shall continue this discussion subsequently, but we're grateful, Mr. Jackson, for your thoughts on this development. Here's with Dalex Finance and the financial analyst at that. You're still watching The Marketplace. Let's now talk about customer service, because the hospitality sector maintained its position as the best-ranked sector in customer service in the country in 2021 by the Ghana Customer Service Index report. We just want to pull up some of the results that we could, share with you regarding the various agencies and enterprises, public and private. You can see on your screens for the insurance sector, we had Enterprise Life also leading when it comes to the customer service rankings as well, DVLA, GRA, and the likes. Yvonne McCarthy-Ohui joins us, via Zoom to help us understand the parameters to this calculation. Yvonne, great job. Many thanks for joining us. So help us understand clearly the parameters used in ranking these public and private institutions.
Yes, thank you so much, Charles, and good afternoon to all our viewers. So yes, I'll just read this as we have in the report so that we get it. So What we do is usually hold this particular survey online, and then we also have those that go out to take responses from different customers. But usually respondents will rate their experience of customer service in 10 selected parameters. Okay. So these are the parameters that we actually ask them to rate: trust, the look and feel, the competence of the organization, professionalism, the ease of doing business, processes and procedures, customer-focused innovations, staff engagement, complaint and feedback, and then we added coronavirus preparedness, obviously, because of the type of situation we're in now. So for every company in the sector, we have a mean score for the customer experience measure, and then we convert that to percentiles. Once we do that, we also multiply by a weighting figure that reflects the priority score of each measure that we use. So you can have some companies who would have probably even a bigger market share, and so they would have more people answering questions on their behalf. But we use that mating methodology to put everyone back on a level playing field. So we use 10 different parameters to actually rate these organizations.
Impressive. 2021, of course, we did see that the country was, inching closely out of the pandemic. So help us understand your impression regarding performance customer service between 2020 and 2021. Does it keep improving or we're lagging?
Well, we are lagging, to be honest with you. This year, we scored a 66.26, which is a C+. Last year, so usually what we do is we hold the fair in the next year. So when I say last year, actually in 2021. So 2021, we actually scored 66.26, which is a C+. If you look at what we scored in 2019 and 2020, 2020 was 65.55, which is also a C+, and 2019 was 62.61. So we are always hovering around the 66s, okay? There's been a slight increase, but it's not even up to 1%. I mean, I was hoping that after we had been through, the whole corona situation, organizations would have sat up and really evaluated the service that they offered their customers and done something about it. So the increase is not anything that's impressive. It doesn't really translate to a great experience for the Ghanaian citizen. And so there's a lot more to be done.
Indeed, a lot more to be done. Yvonne Ohi-MacArthur, we're grateful that you could explain to us what indeed entered into the 2021 Customer Service Index. Of course, she's with the Institute of Customer Professionals there. Before we leave, the group president for the CAGL, a licensed radioactive transporting company, Isaac Amoako-Mensah, has called on companies who transport radioactive and explosives to consider giving training to their various stakeholders and employees. We have more in this report.
Isaac Amoako-Mensah said the explosion at Apiate 2 weeks ago has become a wake-up call for the company to make sure that everyone along within their chain of work gets to know exactly what they are working with to handle them appropriately. Describing the explosion as a tragic accident, he said, radioactive source transporting companies must take a cue and start thinking of the impact that inadequate training and lack of knowledge by the workers can possibly bring. Mr. Isaac Amoako-Mensah said the explosion at Apiate should be a call for all, including the CAGL, to intensify regulation and knowledge base on radioactive to enhance safety.
This training is not meant for protection of yourself alone. It's meant for you to protect yourself, your neighbors, and the environment as a whole. Because you saw water being tested because of the possibility of radioactive leakage, right? So everything is not just about me or you. It's about the whole community in which we live. A lot of people go out, and if it had been the radioactive incident that happened at Apiate, 100 years from now or 200 years from now would have still been living with the repercussions of that incident. So for me, this training has come in at a very timely time, that in future, when you are escorting or you are doing the documentation or you have to do an approval You know exactly what to look out for before you do the approval. You know exactly what to look out for before you sit in that escort truck. You know exactly what to look out for before BNI, you tell them that, look, you can move this or you can't move that.
A senior resource scientist at the Radiation Protection Institute, Dr. Francis Otu, on his part said, though there are no ready statistics to back the impact of radioactive sources in the country, that of the lack of knowledge can go a long way to affect generations.
Well, a developing story that we're keeping an eye for you. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, and other stakeholders are engaging the Transport Minister today over a proposed increase in transport fares. Joy Business is learning that the operators will be tabling before the Minister their basis of increase in transport fares by 30%. We shall keep an eye on this, especially when they're proposing the 20th of February as a date for the hikes in the transport fares. Well, that's how we end this edition of Marketplace. My name is Charles Aite. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.